Hello and welcome to the Keto Man's Club podcast.
We're glad you're here, where each week we talk about men's health and lifestyle.
We do so with the foundation of the ketogenic diet and lifestyle.
If you don't know what keto is, stick around and you'll find out.
The podcast will bring you real, honest fun.
Each week we strive to uncover the tips and tricks that you can use in your everyday life to maximize your overall health.
Find the clearest path to becoming the best version of yourself that you were meant to be.
Hello and welcome to this week's episode of the Keto Man's Club podcast. My name is Chris. I'm one of your hosts, and this week I'm joined, as always, by Jim and Alberto, and I'm excited that we get to just sit down and have a bit of a chat. We haven't talked just among ourselves in a little while, and one of the great parts of having two co-hosts is that we can do just episodes between ourselves, and it's a lot of fun. So, what's going on, Jim? What's new?
Took a little PTO from work last week, which meant some catching up, some home projects and different things. Found that a little bit of R&R was actually more needed than I had originally thought. And now that I'm back in the swing, it's like, I need another week of vacation from the vacation kind of thing. So, and then as we talked about, I think last week, it's October in Indiana, which means 80 degrees in the daytime and 8 degrees at night, which makes for, fun sniffling and all that good kind of head cold stuff, but nothing too terrible. So surviving, brother. Surviving.
Yeah, I've got a little allergic response in the last couple of days. I think the cedars are starting to do their thing, and so I'm dealing with some of that myself.
Cedar fever.
Yeah. So Alberto, what's going on with you?
Usual stuff for the most part. I posted in the group. I have the opportunity to make a little bit of side cash just in time for Christmas, possibly painting some Amazon vans. So we're going to see if that actually pans itself out.
Mm-hmm.
I decided in my quote unquote studio here, my shed that I'm sitting in right now, that was half set up as kind of a makeshift kind of paint booth, and pretty much just came to the conclusion that I really don't want to paint in here. So I'm starting to clean it out. I'm going to throw out a bunch of stuff, liquidate a lot of the random paint equipment I got in here, and this place is going to be a straight up recording studio / lounge. So that should be pretty cool.
Ooh.
Yeah,
I mean, it's a 12 by 20 shed. It's insulated, so I mean it's actually quite comfortable. And now that I just started cleaning it up, you can actually see floor space. You're like, all right, we can do something with it.
very cool, nice, and it's easy enough for me to join you over there, and we can do things in person, spacious area instead of crammed behind my very busy desk. And or just hang out, grilling and, a place to hang out would be cool. So yeah, that's really cool. My week has continued into, we just finished up week 2 of the Carnivore Keto Cut. I'm still holding on to the macros really well, not getting to the gym as often as I'd like, but still being relatively, if not pretty darn active, despite that. So enjoying that for the most part. Last week, I think, was the last week where I'm going to feel like I'm eating too much. This week's macros come in at 2,100 calories roughly, which is still, a lot compared to what Berto is doing. But it's the hard part about it is that it's largely protein. I'm having to start to choose leaner cuts of meat and things like that. I had my first ham steak today with that to try to get in some protein without not a lot of fat, and that was tasty. But 11 ounces of that was a lot at once. So it's been an interesting challenge. I've lost a little bit of weight so far, but I'm thinking that my body's trying to adjust to the higher protein intake, because I know that I was under eating protein before this. I can just tell based on it being such a big change from where I was and what I was doing before. So All is well with that. I haven't hit the wall that some of the other guys in the group have. Johan has been complaining a little bit that he's hitting the wall, but he's an avid CrossFitter. He's in the CrossFit gym day in and day out. He's saying that for the most part, he's fine on the low intensity stuff, but when he tries to amp it up, he's having some issues. And he's also on a lower caloric intake than I am. I do believe. So
what are we going to do in November?
Well, that's a good question.
I mean, I know it's No Shave November for a lot of guys. I think that's for prostate cancer awareness or something like that. But, what any thoughts of what we should do next month?
Well, that's a good question. So
I caught you off guard, Chris.
Yeah,
I apologize.
Yeah, I don't know. Now I'll still be on the cut until mid-November because it's 6 weeks, not 4. And then of course reversing through the holidays. But we can do we could encourage No Shave November. There's Movember, which is mustaches.
Car November. Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah. I think that's what we did last
yeah, I was about to say, how about that clever?
And so that's we've got to think about that. Let's see what let's think about that and see what it will be. I think it would be let's do just a generic carnivore November, but make sure that everybody's tracking. Make it be a track challenge, because that was a good challenge the last time for us in both groups, was to encourage everybody to track everything, but to do so in carnivore. So that would be good. That would be good. We should do that. And that should set us up for the holidays. And I know that was one of the things that we wanted to talk about, but let's do our shout outs real quick before we forget. So Jim, do you have yours?
I do.
Okay.
I do. So I am giving a shout out to Father Jerry Tavares, who's been a member of the Keto Man's Club for a while. He is a Canadian, and he's got a direct line to a higher power, if you know what I mean. That's why we call him Father Jerry. He doesn't post a lot of photos of himself, but he does some amazing things with his food. And kudos to anybody who puts keto food on a real plate, not a paper plate, because it just blows my mind sometimes how guys can make these huge steaks and then they're on this like floppy, 79 cents for 500 paper plates. So Father Jerry posted up a couple days back keto fried chicken with a tomato cheese sauce. And he says that he used ground up pork rinds for the breading on the chicken. So if you miss fried chicken, the stuff that you get through the window at the restaurant kind of thing, well, never fear. You can actually do a very nice keto style, and check out Father Jerry's food photos in the group. He definitely knows what he's talking about. So that's my shout out for the week.
Very cool. Berto?
Following the whole line of talking about food, mine's going to go to our good friend Tony Serrano. It was actually both hilarious and sad. But he posted a question: is Carolina barbecue supposed to be stretchy? He's like asking for, it's me, I want to know. And then he posted a video of what I'm assuming is supposed to be brisket and him trying to cut it, and it's bad. It's bad. And the line of commenting and the conversation I found was pretty hilarious. But yeah, I mean, shoe leather or maybe like a sponge, it might be the best description.
Yeah, that's hard. That's rough. I had some slab barbecue today, and it was delicious, and that was a nice thing to do, getting out of the house a little bit today. And they had a nice covered eating area. I was able to pull out my laptop, do some podcast editing while I was out there eating, and it was good. I am going to shout out Gary Warden. He posted a before and after picture, 5 years apart between the two. He's looking good. Definitely been hitting the gym, and but the thing that stood out to me more than the picture was it was his comment that went with it. And it says, discipline equals freedom. Never effing again. Never. And that type of determination and mindset is just so key, and something that a lot of us struggle with, to be honest, because there's a lot of us, like including myself, that slipped into becoming very fat, very, over a longer period of time. We can get lazy, and we have to kind of remind ourselves, hey, don't go back. Never again, never again. And so I love that mentality. I love that mindset. So that's our shout outs for the week. So we don't have a ton of agenda. We do want to talk a little bit about a couple things that we kind of thought of before we get too far. And let's talk about the merch, because especially by the time that this airs, which move things around again a little bit, I think I'm going to end up airing this next week just to make sure that it gets out before the end of October. But we have the store ready at this point. Basically we're working on some small logistical items, but in general, the store is ready, and the items will be ready. And then like I just mentioned, we're gonna get this out. This podcast episode is coming out relative like the week after we're recording it, so that we can make sure that we get this out in time. But the first 2 weeks that the store is open, we're going to offer an early bird code, and this will just give you 15% off everything. Anything that you're anything that you're purchasing. It will give you 15% off, so that you can get that off because you're getting it early. So that's that discount code will be in the notes, but I'm setting it right now. Bird 15, early bird 15, all one word. So that will be your discount code to get a little bit off the price is if you get it within the first 2 weeks of selling. So definitely get in while get into it while the getting's good, so that we can make sure that you have it. And then these pre-orders will end within the month. We want to make sure that we have plenty of time to get everything get everything to our printing company to get Ant going with it, so we can get it to you guys before the holidays and before it gets really cold for a lot of you. So
yes, for a lot of you, not for us.
yeah, I was intentional with that particular but yeah, that's definitely so that would that's what's going on. The merch store, we'll be broadcasting it on the Facebook group and on the podcast feed on Instagram and Facebook, getting it out there. We have hoodies, we have t-shirts. I'm even working on adding a variant that would be a long sleeve t-shirt. So for the t-shirt designs, we have a new design. We're calling it Life Cycle, and it embodies our motto: eat meat, lift heavy, sleep, and repeat. Designed by a friend of mine, which I'm so ever so grateful for Stephanie for stepping in and creating exactly what we needed. We'd been sitting there debating on the design for so long, and she nailed it. So really thankful for Stephanie stepping in on that and helping us out. So that is the merch thing. Anything to add to that, guys?
Get it while you can.
Yes.
Because once it's gone, it's gone. We will never sell anything again.
Somehow somehow I doubt
No.
that. But
Yes, because we're all gonna buy our new Ferraris and
yes,
roll off into the sunset with these
Mhm.
last round of shirt sales.
yeah, we made so much money the last round. We actually, with that said, we do absolutely support, absolutely appreciate the support that has been shown in the sales and spreading the word and sharing the podcasts with people, sharing groups with people. That support means a lot. And the finances, none of us are taking a salary. We're kind of paying some of the bills with it. But we're not making money on this thing. We mainly are, bowling back into the community as best as we can, trying to improve the quality of the podcast. There's some
Don't give up the facade, Chris.
hey,
They think we're millionaires.
I am definitely not a millionaire.
So we don't really mark these things up. And then if you were to legitimately add up the hours that we each individually put into the little tasks that it takes, and then combine those hours, and then whatever little money we do make, divide that by 3, and we don't want to know what that number is because it would be very, very depressing.
Yeah. We're definitely while there's some money being made, there's a little bit of a profit margin. That profit margin is not huge by any means, and it's mainly enough to just keep us moving forward with it. That's really what it is. Gives us a little bit more flexibility to hire a graphic designer to make our design instead of doing it ourselves, which we did this time, which was awesome. Okay, well, that's the merch thing. Get it while you can. And, again, thanks for sharing and putting us out there. So that's that. Speaking of getting the word out there, Reddit. Jim, do you want to talk about that?
Well, we have a number of followers in our Facebook, and then in our Facebook groups, we've got a page for the podcast. We have an Instagram profile. I mean, we've got a lot of interaction out there on social media platforms and whatnot. And every so often, we'll get this sudden burst of about 10, 20 different guys, at least, who read about us on Reddit. I have not really participated in Reddit, so I don't have a lot of insight on how it works or anything. I know it's supposed to be considered the front page of the internet. I think that's what they call themselves. The other night, well, actually tonight, I went through and we had a number of guys, as I mentioned, that had requested to join the groups, either the Keto Man's Club or the Keto 101 Man's Club, who said that they heard about it on Reddit. So if you're listening to this and you are a Reddit user and you go into the, what's the phrase, Chris? The subreddit on Keto?
Mm-hmm.
Is that right?
Yeah, it's Reddit, reddit.com/r/keto.
Well, slash away. Well, don't slash at us. Let me backtrack on that. Don't slash at us. But whoever is out there talking about us, thank you very much, first of all. Second of all, hopefully you are finding a good path on keto and you're getting some good information from us on the podcast or whatever social media that you found us on. But yeah, if we're just glad to see it. And good press is extra good press. So people who are finding the benefit of us and what we do on those ripple effects on social media, hey, we will take it and much appreciated.
Absolutely. Well,
and if you're talking bad about us, Chris Duckett, he lives, and I won't give his address.
No. I am definitely not the enforcer in this case. Well, so we are, we're airing this, next week. It's going to be second to last weekend of October, and what we're looking at with that is that sun's gone more of the day, and seasonal affective disorder is absolutely kicking in for some people. So we wanted to talk a little bit about that in general. Affirm for those that may be feeling it but didn't realize that it's a thing. Well, it's a thing. But let's talk about that a little bit. What do you Alberto, what's your take on it, and what are you doing, if anything, to try to offset it?
Well, down here, it's much less of a problem than it was when I lived up in the Midwest.
Sure.
Because I mean, we don't really get terribly cold. So not only do you have a super short amount of daylight where you go to work and it's pitch black, and you get off work and drive home and it's pitch black, and then it's negative 30 degrees on top of that. Like that's when back my pre-keto days, that's when I would drink a lot. I'd drink a lot of beer because that's really all there was to do. You get home from work, take a shower, and just drink a couple beers. Like it's cold out, you're not going to sweat at work the next day.
Mm-hmm.
There's nothing else to do. Dark, you ain't going to go outside if you don't have to. And that's how I used to cope with it pre-keto. And ever since I've been keto, I've been in Texas, so it hasn't been much of a problem. And now with my job, driving around all the time and in and out of my truck all the time, and I'm outside a lot. I get plenty of sunlight. I just I mean, it gets dark kind of early, and that's kind of a bummer, but it definitely has a lot less of an effect on me down here than it ever did when I lived up north.
Yeah. Jim, you are up north, so let's talk with you a bit.
In Indiana, we average about 38 minutes of daylight during the winter season. No, it's not quite that bad. But it definitely thins out a little bit here. And a few years back, I was doing morning workouts, leaving at about 5:30 in the morning and going in, working out 6 to 7-ish, come home, take a shower, head to work all day and everything. And if I was really good, I'd even go back and do another workout at night. And I love winter. I mean, I've lived in Indiana my whole life. I love snow. My dogs love snow. I mean, I'm all in and everything. But about 3-4 years ago, kind of really started getting this funk when I realized one day I came home from work and thought, I've not seen my house in daylight in days. And I've shared it before. My dad was a police officer, and there's part of that in my head of thinking, sometimes you need to go and walk around the house, just make sure everything is okay. Nobody's spray painted something stupid. Nobody's try to pry in your back door or anything. And and I remember coming home and like, oh my gosh, I have not been like around my house and seen it in daylight in, it feels like ages. And with that, the whole, you're inside when it's sunny out, even if it is a cold day and everything, it starts wearing on you for sure. I had a coworker at a previous job who invested in one of those, not a sun lamp, like a tanning lamp, but a sunlight lamp. And Chris or Alberto, you may know the right term for it. Basically, she set it on her desk, and it was kind of like that natural light ambiance kind of thing. And I jokingly made fun of her one day of it. She's like, "Take it, go, keep it in your office for the afternoon." And truly, what a difference that thing made. I was like, wow, this is kind of nice to feel that. So, I just bring this up because a lot of our guys in the groups and who follow us around on different social media and everything, like I was talking about a few moments ago, they are the morning workout crew, and they have that drive of getting up at 5, 4, whatever time, crazy hour in the morning, and go and doing that. Well, when you add, 6 inches of snow or the cold and everything, I mean, that's an extra mental step that you have to make. It's one thing to throw on a pair of shorts and a t-shirt and your shoes and socks, and you're out the door in 5 minutes to go to the gym. It's when you have to hunker down and cross the great white frozen tundra to get to the gym or anything that you're like, bed's pretty good. I can hang out here another half hour or something like that. So, which kind of will lead to, and at some point here in the conversation about, working out at home and different things like that. Bottom line, the seasonal affective disorder definitely does exist. A lot of people do struggle with it. We've talked repeatedly on the podcast about how the mental clarity of keto kicks in and the energy and things like that. So if you're finding those things and whatnot, hey, great, keep doing what you're doing, all good. If you struggle with it, though, don't think that is a sign of failure or anything as we're getting into the winter months. And especially we've talked about it on the podcast, the first of the year, new starts and all of those kinds of things. I have a feeling that 2021, everybody's going to go into January 1st with some enthusiasm because we're going to be through an election. We're hoping that COVID-19 is somewhere fading a little bit. I mean, there's so much that we're just like, let's just get through the flipping year and be done with it. So hopefully we see some positivity. And like I said, with the seasonal affective disorder, just jump it on what you can and roll with it. That is a very, very long-winded answer, and I apologize for that.
No, it's fine. It's all good stuff. I'm not sure if the one that your coworker had was the far infrared light, or if it was just a UV emitting lamp, or not.
I think it was UV. There was no infrared. Yeah,
Okay.
Just the UV.
Yeah. So light therapy absolutely can be helpful, whether it be far infrared, solar saunas are a thing. Just getting out during the day and getting a little bit of sun. The other thing that I've heard is amping up and taking a very high dose vitamin D supplement can help to. It doesn't by itself do the trick most of the time. I want to mention that real quickly. It by itself doesn't fix it, but it will when you couple that with getting out into what sun you can get in. Your body absorbs it and it works a lot better. And I'm already on high dose vitamin D myself because that's one of the things that gets affected with the TRT regimen. So I've always, and then I'm most days not even leaving my house besides to walk across the street to my mailbox. So it's kind of one of those things I have to do something. Otherwise I will end up, being very vitamin D deficient. And so, I supplement that, pretty much year round anyway. But those are some things that we can do. I've heard of people doing something as simple as as going to the tanning bed. Even if you're not the type of person that tans well, you can, even if you're the type that doesn't tan very well, you can go in for just a couple minutes at a time. And that can be that UV light that you were needing to help improve on what you're feeling and biochemically improve kind of what's going on there, because we need a little. My gym has tanning beds, or tanning booths more accurately, which is good. And a lot of gyms do have that type of thing that you can get your membership to be that way. So yeah, that's one of those things that we can do. I'm sure that there's other things, and I just haven't looked to see what those tips are, but those are things that I can think of off the top of my head. So that actually kind of is something that we can, the gym thing was something that you were curious about talking about, Jim. I know when we
got too many gyms there.
Yeah,
you got JM, YM. You
yeah,
said jam, I think, at one point, which made me think of fruits, and I'm like, well, you can't have that. No, I've had great success. I shouldn't say great success. I've had success at a local gym. It's a national chain, but one opened up in my community a couple years ago, and been doing it for a while. Job obligations and a variety of things are making it challenging to get there. And when you get penalized with a late cancellation fee, and I get that you have to do that, but when it's not really your fault, but a work situation comes up, that kind of stings. So I am on the hunt for a new gym. There's one that I used to belong to that is a gym, that there are free weights, there are treadmills, there are exercise bikes. There's really no classes or anything like that. So it's pretty much a DIY experience. So I'm throwing out to you, gentlemen, and to the listeners, if they want to comment on our podcast page and whatnot, what do you look for in a gym?
Yeah.
I mean, because just because they have weights doesn't mean it's the greatest place. Just because they have treadmills, bikes, whatever. Yeah. So what you guys have done different things and whatnot. So what have you looked for it in gyms in the past?
Berto, start us out, and then I'll give my response.
All right, we got probably about 15, 20 minutes before we're out of things to talk about. So you should
I'm
be
going to
okay.
put it on mute and just let you roll like I did a few moments ago, brother. The floor is yours.
No, I mean, it really depends on, what you're trying to do. Obviously, cleanliness is a huge factor now. So, yeah, you want to make sure that the place is maintained, that they got, adequate staff. Some places aren't staffed 24/7, and it's up to the individual people to clean their own stuff, which tends to work out just fine. But, looking at stuff like that, and then whatever you're in there for, like, if you've just honestly are joining the gym and you see yourself, going on the treadmill more than anything, then man, test drive the treadmills. Make sure they're good treadmills. Make sure they work. Make sure that you're comfortable with them. If you're going to be there messing with the machines, you think you're going to be a machine guy, then go through every one of those machines. Make sure that they're smooth, the pulleys look like they're working right, that everything's functioning. Because like I've been stuck in some hotel gyms, and like you kind of walk past, you look in there, you're like, all right, I can work with this stuff. And then you get in there, and the pulleys are broken, cables are broken, there's no pins on the machines. You go to do pull-ups, and the pull-up bar's all wobbly and loose, and it's just like, all right, in a hotel situation, that's fine. But like if you join a gym specifically for these purposes, then no, that would not be good. Other than that, dumbbells. Make sure they got plenty of dumbbells. And honestly, more than anything, I would join the gym if I had to change. If they had just one very good set of dumbbells that went all the way up to, let's just say, like 120 pounds, 130 pounds, I could do everything I really want to do with strictly dumbbells as long as they start at 5 pounds, that work their way all the way up. And I can get a really good workout with just that. But test run the place. If you're gonna go get your free membership and check it out, usually they'll let you get a workout in. Where you take advantage of that time to get on everything, get on every treadmill, get on every elliptical, get on every stair climber. Make sure everything's you're comfortable with everything. It's all working the way it's supposed to, because you don't want to end up stuck at a gym with equipment that's in need of maintenance either, because that would be a bummer.
No, years ago I joined the community center gym in the city that I was living in at the time, and it was convenient. It was really like dirt cheap. I think it was like $10 a month or something. Like it was nothing, but the weight equipment was horrible. It wasn't well maintained. It had to have been 20 years old, most of it. The treadmills were 5 to 10 years old and had a whole bunch of people that were just as heavy as I was at that time, doing their thing on it. And so it was broken down. Sometimes they'd work, sometimes they wouldn't. So yeah, cleanliness and working totally jump out at me. I like your suggestion a lot about the dumbbells, and the reason I like it is because a lot of time, if you don't have a workout partner, if you switch the variation from a barbell based workout like the traditional bench, and you do bench with dumbbells, you taught me to use that as an easy way to bail if needed. So Berto, any other things to add to that, the cleanliness and the facilities? I know you're not one for classes much, but do you see the value in that, or is that something that like people shouldn't pay extra for?
If you're gonna do them, sure. The problem that I would have is I'd be like, this sounds like a great idea, and then I would pay the extra money, and then I would just be like, yeah, I don't feel like doing that anymore. And I would never do them. If you're gonna do the classes, yeah. And I see and even now the classes are obviously super empty at Crunch. So even there's times where like, you want to just stick around for the class. Like if I happen to be in that room, they'll just ask if I want to stick around, because there's like literally 3 other people in there.
Yeah.
So if you're gonna do them, that even if it's not your thing, even if it was like say like Zumba or something, like if Zumba might not be your thing, but I promise you it's gonna be a good workout. And it's going to be something like you've never done before. So there's no shame in it.
Yep. Yeah, I did a couple spin classes at Crunch, and those are extremely challenging. They really, definitely some crazy things to try to do. And the classes at some place like Crunch, which Crunch isn't the only people that do this, but I think, they're the ones that we know. They do a little bit of everything. They've got CrossFit style classes. They've got spin classes. They've got yoga. They've got what's that dance? Is it jazzercising? I don't even know.
That's
Zumba. They call it Zumba now. Stuff like that to really. They really do have a lot of variety, and they let you try different things. And I think there's definitely some value to that. That's one of the things that I enjoyed about doing Camp Gladiator was they would have cycles. So each week we'd have a different type of methodology, and it kept the muscles confused. It kept activity up. Some weeks it was all about the cardio. Some weeks it was about working heavier, those types of things. And I think that type of variety can be very beneficial for that. I definitely, given having gotten the experience, wow, that's complicated.
I'm sitting here like, what?
Having gotten the experience that I have with Crunch, I don't think I could go to any other gym just because they've got everything. They've got tons of cardio. They've got all the free weights, all of the weight machines, the deadlift platforms, just everything. And that freedom, that ability to have everything right there is just pretty amazing, pretty awesome to be able to just walk in. And they have so much of it that most of the time, as long as you're a little bit flexible with the order that you do things, you generally don't have to wait for anything because they have enough equipment to go around. And so if you, that I think is the important part for me is I have, most days I'm struggling just to cram the 1 hour of time that I have to get into that gym in. So anything that slows me down once I'm there is something that I'm not interested in. So I definitely would abdicate for trying to have a gym that had plenty of equipment to work out and plenty of space to give people the ability to do everything that they want to do.
So you both talk that you appreciate variety. So the reason I asked this or mentioned that is that I have a friend that I was talking to about the gym hunt and finding the next thing and whatnot. And she actually has one of those newer machines that does the virtual training where you've got the computer screen in front of you and you hop on the bike. She does the bike and, okay, we are going to bike 25 miles of the Great Wall of China. And literally she is watching, being on the top of the Great Wall of China and biking up and down and all different kinds of things. And she loves it. And you can pick all these different options and things like that. Ultimately, though, she's still biking on a exercise bike in her home office. Would that ever entice either of you to have one of those things? And maybe not necessarily the bike. She said that she'd heard that they were going to do one that's kind of like an all weights type thing where you can do different types of training with a virtual trainer or whatnot. Does that jump out at either of you if you had that option? Or do you like being in a gym outside of your home, away, your own thing? Does that motivate you a little bit more?
I personally prefer to go to a gym. Obviously, I worked out from home when I had to, but I had no intention of investing in any kind of equipment to make it a permanent thing here. Just to me, it's part of it's just going to the gym. You get there and this building is specifically designed for one purpose. Walking out my garage, I'll get sidetracked and end up cleaning something,
Right.
So yeah, for me, I can work out at home. I can get a good workout at home, but I can get a great workout at the gym. That's probably the easiest way I can describe it.
Okay.
Yeah. For me, it's much the same. I am so easily distractible, or there's always something going on around the house. My wife will need something in the middle of whatever it is I'm doing, that I can't like I have to get away to have that concentrated time of effort and physical activity. I've tried really hard to do it here at the house, and I'm just really bad at it. Even though I've got all sorts of gadgets and gizmos and things to make a decent workout here at the house, I just can't. I can't do it reliably because I'm just able. I'm not in that mode. It's the same thing that a lot of people deal with whenever they are going to work. Now that they're at home, they don't have to go to work. They're working from home. And so they have this whole, how do I switch into work mode? Because that drive to work was the ritualistic, get prepared for, get into that mindset, load the energy, load the mindset, all that type of stuff. I've had to deal with that for 7.5 years at this point. So I'm used to it, but it is one of those things. I miss some of that ritual, and it was even suggested by some of our wellness folks at Apple to, do make a ritual, pre-work ritual, like go walk up and down the road or do something specific that's kind of your key. And the same thing works for the gym. So for me, it's either going to the gym or biking to the gym, which I'm enjoying. I think in terms of the bike with the display that you're, doing these virtual things, I think that would be interesting for a couple times, but I would get bored of it pretty quick. Mm-hmm. And I think that I would have issues with trying to enjoy that long term. It's definitely not something I would invest the type of money necessary for those things. Those things are freaking expensive. But I do know that for a lot of people, that's all they want. That's all they need. It's their spin class. It's their whatever. And so it's all up to what you find works for you. Now, we've kind of alluded to it. You mentioned it before while we were talking about the seasonal affective disorder. But for a lot of us, when the snow falls, it won't happen to us down here in Austin. But for those in the northern reaches of the northern hemisphere, the snow's going to come down, and that's going to be a workout of its own, just shoveling the driveway. But for those that want to and need to get to the gym, that can be made harder because of the snow. So we kind of were joking earlier, well, do a workout at home, just like you did all summer. And, it's true. We kind of did, but so among the three of us, what are the things that we found worked most well from home that we could do in winter? Because we were talking with JJ. We released JJ's episode this week, and in the conversation with him, he's like, winter's going to be fun. I'm not sure what I'm going to do yet, but I'm going to do something. And so what are you guys thinking would make the most effective at-home workout for you guys?
Well, mine's easy because I mean, like I said, like we just said, we did it. I ended up just buying that Athlete X Zero program, which is all body weight work, and that was a fantastic little purchase. And there's no shortage of free programs out there on bodybuilding.com, muscleandfitness.com. They all have massive exercise databases. You can almost get anything you've ever wanted for free. You pick by category. Mm-hmm. And I wanted something a little more structured, so I did buy that Athlete Next Zero. And that's just what I stuck with. It gave me a regimen. It gave me a schedule. It told you what you're doing every day. It scheduled your rest days for you. So, it was one of those things at a time where, in the time of uncertainty, I knew what was coming up the next day, and I could just kind of follow a schedule and keep a little bit of normalcy. Yeah. But as far as doing it over the winter, I mean, same thing. For the most part, you don't need a ton of space to get this stuff done. There's a few exercises where you do a bit of jumping around, but you can just as easily skip that part or move on to the next workout. But to get a real good at-home workout out, I always tell people you only really need as much space as it takes to do a push-up. Because in the space it takes to do a push-up, you can do a burpee, you can do squats, you can do lunges, you can do push-ups, you can do sit-ups. It doesn't take much space. If you can lay out a yoga mat, you got enough room to get a workout in.
Yeah, I agree. That's kind of my thought on that myself. Is it's easy enough to get the easy enough to do body weight workouts and uh, any type of bands. A set of bands, I think, is probably what I would be doing, because body weight is not my favorite thing in the world. So I would for me, a set of bands is nice because it gives you some of that resistance training that I like a lot. And we actually have two different sets of bands at this point, because one came with some extra accessories, but you can find them on Amazon. You find them pretty much everywhere that sells workout gear, and they've been somewhat readily available even during the time of COVID and people getting workout equipment at home. The only thing that I miss, and my neighbors have had a bench, it's torn to crap on the seat, but there's a bench sitting out there on the curb and it's calling my name, because that would allow me to have something that I can like hook the bands to and get a bench press on, or that type of thing, instead of trying to do it on the floor and that type of thing. It's just not working very well. So I will, if it's still there in a day or two, I'll probably be grabbing it, trying to find some way to redo the seats just so that I have it, because why
Duct
not?
tape.
Yeah, duct tape. Yeah, pretty much. So yeah, there's all sorts of different things that you can do at home to do a workout of some sort, and just find what works for you. I know that there's a lot of people that love those battle bikes versus the spin bikes. Which that's a very much a CrossFit thing typically. But yeah, there's just lots of all of that available, and it doesn't have to be terribly expensive. I haven't invested a small fortune in the gear that I have. You just have a little bit of gear. So, Jim, your thoughts? Anything else to close or add to that?
I guess the only thing that I would add with it is that, if your schedule for whatever reason, or your your motivation during the winter time falls off a little bit, one thing that you can actually do to help in many different ways is do some really good stretching.
Mm-hmm.
And either if it's yoga or if it's just finding some stuff on YouTube or whatever that helps you stretch out to keep limber and things like that. If you've got a sit down job and you drive to your sit down job and then you drive home from your sit down job and then you sit at home, yeah, you're not benefiting in any way, shape, or form. So if you don't want to go to the gym, or you don't want to, whatever the case may be, at least find a YouTube channel. There are so many good ones out there, actually, that, if you've got a home office, like Alberto was saying, if you've got the space for a mat, you can stretch too. And you may find that you can only move in certain ways and whatnot, but don't give up. I mean, stick with it, just like, the keto way of eating. If you give up on it, it's not going to work. If you cheat on it, it's not going to work. But if you keep at it, you're going to see the improvements. And again, I went out Friday night with some friends, and one was talking about being in virtual class all week long. And she said, my hip flexors hurt so bad. And we were talking about a couple of different stretches that my chiropractors told me how to do. So just find a way of doing it. Again, YouTube's free. And if you've got a streaming device, streaming TV, you can watch it right there, set it up on your computer, whatever the case may be, and just do 15, 20 minutes of good stretching, focus on yourself. It will definitely help you in the long run.
Agreed. Stretching alone can go a long way. I need to do a lot more of that. That was one of the pieces of feedback I got at Kung Fu on Friday. There's a stance called a bow stance, and I wasn't twisting my whole body forward to meet my knee, and that's because it's hard for me, because my hips don't want to twist that way. And
Mhm.
so it's one of those things I need to do better work on getting more flexible and limber in those types of things.
By the way, Chris,
Mhm.
every time you talk about Kung Fu, in my mind, all I hear is, whoa. It just goes to it immediately.
Yeah.
And you know, so
Yeah.
I just want to kind of have that in the background every time you say it as this autoplay kind of thing. Not knocking Kung Fu at all, man, but
I
it
get it.
just happens. It's just there in my head.
Yep, I get it. I do. I get it. Yeah, so it's definitely flexibility is definitely something that will help a lot. Just doing some basic stretches. In fact, actually, that same Sifu, which is our term for teacher, that was coaching me on that. She said, "I don't often suggest yoga, but I think you might need some yoga." And so I should probably get into some yoga, even though I don't know why I'm resistant, but I'm resistant.
You know who you got to hit up? You got to hit up Tony James.
Oh yes, I do.
That
Yes,
man's all about the yoga and the YouTube, and he's posted lists of people he follows on YouTube and stuff, and
yeah,
for his yoga. And you see the videos. That guy's doing yoga, I think, every day.
every day. So yeah, I need to take after Tony in that regard. He definitely knows his stuff in that regard, and follow his example. So that's good. Or I mentioned JJ earlier. You can get a mace and throw a mace around and some kettlebells, and so for again small pieces of equipment, you can do full-fledged workouts. And any weight can be heavy whenever you do it slow enough and intentionally enough. So
just make sure you have vaulted ceilings in your house.
Yeah, you want to have,
or you're not underneath a ceiling fan.
Yeah, definitely want to be high enough. JJ is worried about that, so he's thinking that he'll be outside most of the winter, which will be fun on the Chicagoland area.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he's on the good side of the lake too. So.
Yep. Okay. Let's see. I think that's most of the notes that I had. Is there anything else I'm forgetting that we wanted to talk about?
I think we've hit everything for the most part.
Okay, then. Well, then. I think we have had talked about a lot of good stuff. Just another quick reminder for those who listened through, didn't stop and immediately go to our store. Get the link in the show notes. Go to the store, order your merch, get it in early. Use our discount code earlybird15 to get 15% off your order. And we look forward to seeing our new design or our hoodies out there in the real world, hopefully in relatively short amount of time before the holidays, for sure. And get to see what you guys are doing with that out there. We love seeing the pictures of you guys sporting that, whether it be in the gym or out in the world in general. It's very encouraging for us to see that. Last reminder to our listeners, make sure that you take a chance, if you would, to go and leave a review on Apple Podcasts. That just helps the algorithm get us in front of as many people as possible. And all of that is very helpful for sure. So we've got lots of great things coming. The groups are continuing to grow, and we're seeing lives changed. And that is absolutely the most important part, is seeing lives change for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Well, until next week, make sure to eat meat, lift heavy, sleep, and repeat. Thank you for joining us for the Keto Man's Club podcast. Your support means the world to us. Don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss an episode. Would you help us spread the word about the Keto Man's Club by sharing with your friends and family? We're available on all podcast platforms, so just search for Keto Man's Club and you'll find us. If you would like to connect with us, you can do so a number of ways. Our web address leads to our Facebook group, theketomansclub.com. That's THEKETOMANSCLUB.com. You can also follow us on Instagram at Keto Man's Club Podcast. Lastly, if you have any comments or questions, feel free to reach out via email to ketomansclubpodcast@gmail.com. Thank you again for joining us today, and we look forward to hanging out with you again next week.